Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Don Le Batard.
Did you love The Joker's Wild? 61% of the audience said no.
Oh, you damn young people, soaring with so much ignorance.
Stugotz.
You don't even know what we're talking about. The Joker's Wild is the truth, man. Stay woke.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
This guy here, for those of you who don't know, is the most accomplished author of our time. He has had over 100 New York Times best-selling novels. He's had 60-something #1 New York Times bestsellers. He sold more copies of books recently than Grisham, Stephen King, and Dan Brown combined.
I think his biggest accomplishment is I've read one of his books.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Jack and
I'm
Jill.
impressed.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Yes, everyone's impressed.
Look at that. Do you know exactly? Thank you for joining us, James. Do you know exactly how many #1?
No, I have
New
no
York-
idea. I don't pay attention to any of that. I don't do the numbers.
Really?
A little batting average. I know, like Aaron Judge has 25 or 26 home runs now, but mostly I don't follow the numbers so much.
Okay. Well, 67. I just looked it up. 67
Okay.
#1 New York Times bestsellers.
Big
New
deal.
book, Murder Games. Is
Well, we'll go for 68 then with Murder Games.
well, and when is 69 coming with Aaron Hernandez?
Well, it won't be 69, but that's I'm in the middle of the research now, which is really interesting. I have a couple of guys who work with me in terms of researching and been all over the prison, gotten a lot of good stuff, getting a lot of cooperation there. NFL so far has not been helpful, which I'd like them to be because I really want it to be balanced. I don't want to pick on the NFL. I don't want to pick on the Patriots. I don't want to pick on the University of Florida. But I want to get a real feeling for this guy. And I've gotten a nice feel in the prison for, both the hot-headed side and also the human side. Which one weird thing in the prison is the prisoners who have to use the library want to use the library. They have to put down their favorite authors, and #1 James Patterson with Aaron Hernandez, which is kind of incredibly ironic, I guess, sad, tragic, whatever.
What made you decide? What lured you to that story?
It's just such an amazing story. I mean, I think like a lot of people, you just go, what? How did this happen? The guy seemed to have everything going for him in terms of, a wonderful athlete, big contract, playing for, a Super Bowl team. And clearly there was something, terribly, terribly wrong with him.
I'm curious, what has your research uncovered? Because you've got this.
Well, we're not telling all that yet, but right now we're trying to get a balanced picture, and we're getting him. And a lot of people really enjoyed him. He could be very charming and funny, and the dark side. I think a lot of people were aware of the dark side. It came out enough. I'm trying to get to Tim Tebow, which should be interesting. I'm sure he has some insights. I guess he's too busy hitting baseballs or missing baseballs or something. But we'll see what happens there. I love to talk to Brady. Like to talk to the Patriots in general.
Do you think they know who you are, though? This is funny. You entering into this world.
Well, Aaron did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Kraft knows who I am. Bob Kraft knows who I am. I think, Brady, I think, knows. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people know who I am.
That's true. I know, but the NFL might not care.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I could see why they're shy away from a book, but the book's going to happen. It's a done deal. It's going to be a #1 bestseller, and I want to treat everybody fairly. I don't want to, and I want the information. You can't write a good book if you don't have all the information.
So it is,
and they have a lot of it. So, I'm going to write. In fact, I'm writing another letter in the next 2 days, and we'll see what happens.
Wait a minute, though. Do you carry yourself with author swagger? Like you just predicted another #1 New York Times bestseller, even though you don't keep track
that was
of it?
obnoxious. Yeah. You're right.
No. That was right. That's the way you should be acting.
Speaking
James.
I should. Oh, okay.
No, you don't want to take his
Hemingway.
advice on these things.
I got it. Yeah.
Speaking of obnoxious, I understand that your place in Palm Beach is
obnoxious. Yeah, it's pretty obnoxious. Yeah, it's just one of those things where we wanted to be on the water. The houses on the water tend to be large, and this was like right after 2008. There wasn't a lot of money, so this guy who was building it was running out of rebuilding it was running out of money, so the price was right, relatively speaking. And all of the people who build things were available. I mean, usually when you build things, you miss your date, and all of a sudden you got to wait 2 months for somebody to show up. Everybody showed up. So we built it under budget and on time, or rebuilt it, I should say. So, it was kind of irresistible, and I love it. I mean, Palm Beach it's interesting. From my point of view, it's beautiful. And there's enough people that I want to hang out with. I'm a little down to earth, and I'm not big with the tuxedos and whatever. But we've had a nice run there. It's been fun.
What's the most obnoxious thing in that house?
Me.
Besides you,
the most obnoxious thing. Not much. I mean, you go inside. You'd like the house. I mean, we have a lot of photography, no paintings, but photography all over the place, and it ranges from. One of the rooms, my wife's a big jock. She was a 4-time All-American swimmer. So we have swimming photos. And we have that one where Phelps, where he touches in the Olympics like a fingernail ahead of the number 2. We got that photograph. And we got one of, I think, who the hell did Lee knock out? Williams, or one of those guys where he's out flat on a canvas. It's an overhead shot.
Sonny Liston.
I got a Mickey Mantle shot, which is great. There's not, the place, it's just big. That's the kind of obnoxious.
Is writing easy for you? His new book, Murder Games, is available now. James Patterson.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's today. You can go out and get Murder Games. Help me out. I want to do okay.
Murder Games is the name of the book, but how writing is easy for you, no?
Well, it's a lot easier than it used to be. I mean, you start out, and I can still remember, my first book was turned down by 31 publishers. It then won an Edgar as the best first mystery. So if you ever get a book turned down, just keep going.
31? Was that?
Yeah, 31 publishers. Sometimes the editors, they send me, like they want blurbs for their books, So I don't know. Remember you turned down my book?
Oh, you don't write the blurbs for their books because they turned down.
I'll write the blurbs. By the way, I sometimes I get nuts, I get nuts a lot, but sometimes in the afternoon I'm written out, and so I'll watch you and your father on the tube, and I'm a big fan of Pardon the Interruption.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you. But Pardon the Interruption is not my show.
Murder Games. I know, but you're on it sometimes.
I know. Murder
right?
Games.
Am I wrong?
Yes, yeah, you're correct. You're correct.
Okay,
have you seen me anywhere? Just out of curiosity.
I've seen your picture show up like on Mike and Mike. All of a sudden they go Stugotz. It's going to be on or something.
Yes.
Nice.
Wow.
There you go.
All right.
You've read his book. He's seen your show. It's a real connection here.
I know. It's so cool.
Yeah, if you want to check me out, I'll be on SportsCenter this Friday, right around 8:35.
Murder Games.
8:35. Okay. Yeah. Is it morning or
That's in the morning. You might want to set your DVR.
Okay.
Yeah. If not, I'll send you a copy.
Murder Games is available.
Who's pitching the books here? Why, this is ridiculous. I'm the one that's supposed to be pitching books.
Murder Games available now. I'm trying to get Stugotz away from this.
Well,
subject.
James, I do find this part of it fascinating. Writing, because Dan has often said, in being a great writer,
Dan's a writer, right?
Yes. That's his background.
Miami Herald and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he realized how hard it was, and he decided to do this for a living.
Talking's easier than writing. I'll say that.
Well, he often said though that writing brought him to a dark and lonely place, and I'm wondering, did you have a similar experience at least early on? Because I know it's gotten easier for you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, you have a lot of self-doubts. You don't know. I thought it was arrogant to think that I could get books published. But you want to, and you're writing your butt off. They sent my first. I was really lucky because the first book got published when I was 26, and they sent it. Remember John D. McDonald, famous Florida, Travis McGee wrote all those mysteries and stuff. And they sent him a blurb, and he actually sent back, and he said, "I'm sure James Patterson had written 1 million words before he started the Thomas Barrowman novel, which was that first book," which is kind of true. I mean, that's what you do. You go out and you write and you write and you write and you write and you write, and hopefully you get lucky.
Why does Stephen King hate you so much?
I don't think he hates me. He is not a fan of my work, which is cool. I like most of what he does. I think he's a little long-winded at times, but he's a really good storyteller, and he's got a big imagination. And it is what it is. I don't care.
Well, but look,
if everybody liked your stuff, the world would be pretty boring.
I know, but Stephen King calling you a terrible writer.
Yeah, I know.
Why would he do that? Like that's not.
I don't know.
True.
Look. I mean, he's a combatant kind of guy. I come from a small town too, but. I don't know. He doesn't care for. It's a silly thing, really. I think it has to do with more, he doesn't like the style of what I write, I think. But I am a good storyteller. I'm not the best stylist in the world, but neither is he. He's a very good storyteller, though. So
who do you like to read?
Dostoevsky, Tolstoy.
My favorites.
Yeah, I like a lot of the mystery. I like Grisham. I like John Connolly, John and Michael. The Jack Reacher stuff I like. John Sanford, I think, is terrific.
Right. Are you familiar with Pete Prisco?
Oh, get out of here. New book, Murder Games, is available now. James, Pete Prisco. Is he at CBS Sportsline? Get out of here.
Sure.
James, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Nice
Thank
talking
you,
to
sir.
Guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you and your dad later in the day.
Thank you, sir.
All right, see you on Friday,
bye-bye.
James. Don't forget.
Don Le Batard.
People have told me before, when I was younger, that I looked like George Clooney. I'm serious. When I was younger.
Stugotz.
You have a booger in your right nostril.
So does Clooney.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
There has to be a way to reveal to the people the show that Stugotz does for me during breaks, because that show is better than this show. And it's also better than the show Stugotz does on Sunday mornings or with Mike and Mike or anywhere. During the break, Stugotz was simply showing me James Harrison playing volleyball with a medicine ball.
That's amazing, man.
Because, of course.
He is a man. I mean, he is.
Well, you've seen that video of him lifting weights with his hips, right? The thrusting, the pelvic gesture,
Yes.
him lifting all sorts of weight with his hips. James Harrison is a monster. He's terrifying. James Harrison is as terrifying. In fact, who's the baddest man in sports right now? Is it James Harrison? It used to be Mike Tyson, but who's the baddest man right now wandering the earth in sports? Because it's got to be someone like James Harrison. Like, Brock Lesnar wasn't actually a great mixed martial artist, but he was terrifying.
McGregor, none of those guys are in this conversation, right?
Small.
It's a different kind of menace.
They're too small. You have to have somebody the size of James Harrison. Somebody who, if he wants to dance with your date is dancing with him. There's not much of anything that you can do.
David West.
I want to ask you this question as well, Stugotz. You saw that Danny Ainge was mad at Josh Jackson for not working out for the Celtics. Did you see this?
Yep, I did see it.
What were your thoughts on that?
I actually agreed with, I think Danny Ainge said he was irked by it. I actually agree with Josh Jackson. The request came was very close to the NBA draft, and Josh Jackson, I guess, and his representatives did not want Josh to risk injury. Danny Ainge thinks that maybe Josh Jackson didn't want to play for the Celtics. I don't care about that. I don't care who he wants to play for. He's going to play for whatever team drafted him. But I'm down with you not wanting to do a tryout that close to the draft because you want to run the risk of getting injured and then you're not getting drafted at all.
Well, I'd go a step further than that, though. I do care about whether or not Josh Jackson wants to play for the Celtics. And I care about this construct that is the accepted construct in the NBA, but isn't by any stretch or measure fair, which is a player comes into the workforce and then gets told where to work. And then when the player objects to trying out for that workplace,
right,
he's got Danny Ainge criticizing him because Danny Ainge is entitled and thinks that draft system is fair. He thinks it's fair and right. And what I'm telling you, in a normal American workplace, what's fair and right is the employee gets to work where he wants to. The employee who has value chooses where he works. But we're just so ingrained. We're so used to the draft being fair, even though it's inherently stupid. The draft is inherently unfair. The limitation of workers' rights and the monopolizing of sports team destinations, it's inherently unfair. And the idea that Danny Ainge doesn't see this entire thing, Stugotz, this is fed by the media, and these are just social constructs that are accepted. The draft is one of them. But we were talking the other day about Paul George just traded the Pacers. When the Pacers trade Paul George without any kind of notice,
right, it's
just business. When Paul George trades the Pacers, it's, wah, we're the team. He didn't give us enough notice. Why? Wah, this is a gut punch. You ruined us. When he gives him a year's notice.
Right, but he didn't give the actual notice. It was his agent, and the GM was upset because he had just had conversations with Paul George, not the agent.
He gave them a year's notice. That's
Okay.
more than they're entitled to, frankly.
You're right. I mean, that's fair. It's totally fair. At least he allowed them to do something. Like, hey, you got a year. Figure it out.
When
I'm
the hell
leaving
does
here.
anybody give a year's notice?
No, you don't.
In
Because
their workplace.
Well, listen, we criticized LeBron because he didn't give anyone any notice, and now we're criticizing Paul George for giving notice.
This is what I'm telling you, though. In sports, everybody works together. Management, the organizations, fans, public pressure, media, they all work together to keep these unfair constructs so. And so, what you get is Danny Ainge criticizes Josh Jackson, and Josh Jackson should be like, bleep you, man. I don't want to play for you guys. Like, I'm not interested in playing for you. And what?
Right. Or he's not interested in trying out.
Okay, but whatever, though. If it wants to be, I don't want to play for you. I want more people to do what Eli Manning and John Elway did, where you rattle the cages on what's an inherent unfairness. Do you realize that the draft is what the fact that the draft exists is what helps keep the NCAA unjust, because it acts as a free minor league for basketball, so they protect it.
Right, but what are you proposing here? That guys come out of college and just they're able to sign with whichever
The valuable
team they want
ones, yes, the valuable
but
ones.
they're all going to go to the Spurs and the Cavs and the Warriors and teams like that.
I'm
And then there's no chance for the bad teams to get better. So how do you fix that?
They're not all going to do that. Stugotz, the greatest player in the world, was born near Akron. It was born in Akron and went to Cleveland.
And you think if he had the choice to sign with
He did
whichever
have the
team-
choice. He did recently have the choice, and he chose it.
Well, no, Dan, I'm saying straight out of high school. You think he would have chosen
I'm
the
saying
Cavaliers?
he recently had the choice to play for whomever he wanted to, and he decided to go back to Akron.
But that's going back. I'm just saying right out of high school, that's a little bit different.
Well, but whatever. What I'm saying is, which one's more fair? That teams get to just draft players, unlike most American workplaces outside of the military, when we're at war? What's more unfair? Or that the player would get the chance to choose where he wants to work, thus creating some imbalances because not a lot of players would go to Sacramento. What I'm saying is, one, it's an accepted form of unfairness, totally unfair and totally accepted. The other one you just mentioned is also unfair, and people would say it's unfair only because it's not a cultural norm.
But you realize, like, the reason people are going to get upset with what you're saying and get upset with Josh Jackson is it's a luxury. It's considered like, wow, you get to do that for a living?
No.
I do that for a living. I do it anywhere.
No,
That's what people say to themselves.
The reason they're going to get upset with Josh Jackson is because they hate when the player has the power and exerts it. That's why they're going to get upset.
But upset with
Josh
you and what
Jackson.
you're saying, because people would say, hey, pay me $10 million a year. I'll go play basketball in any city in America.
No, but what I would say to them is, no, if 30 teams were willing to pay you $10 million a year, you would not go wherever it is that an unfair draft simply said that you must. That is what is supposed to be the joy of having value. You can't do that if you're an undrafted free agent. You can do it if you're Josh Jackson. I wish more guys would do it. I wish they would shake the cages on the unfairness of the draft by saying simply, I'm not playing there, and risking everything that comes with it, which is the media will pound you on the head, fans will yell at you because there is this cloud over all of sports that is keep the player down. The player cannot have power. The people who dislike LeBron James, that's largely where that comes from. Because what the hell is there to dislike about LeBron James? The people who are mad at Kevin Durant, that's largely where it comes from. Why should he have the power, the influence over how competitive this thing I love is?
Don Le Batard.
Creepy as F.
Stugotz.
I had a cat, Schmitty. He died.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Getting a lot of texts here, not surprising. Wah, they get millions. Wah, wah, they make millions. Guy writes in, of course, Dan's argument is the only one that can be correct. Just get louder and more long-winded so that yours drowns out my boy Stu's or anyone else's. What an arrogant bleep hole. # free Stu. What we were talking about is how silly the draft is. And we don't need to keep talking about this. I just find funny that much of the backlash that ESPN gets is because guys like me can be condescending in our tone when demanding that you be better fans. Just be better. Think a little more and be better instead of just siding with management.
No. Fans have plenty to think about, man. They got their jobs. They got their families. They don't need to think about this thing. It's our job, and the people who run sports, it's their job to think about it. Fans don't need – I'm sorry. I am not with you on this one. Fans, you don't need to think about a single thing. You don't need to think smarter because someone at ESPN wants you to think smarter. Think the way you want to think. You got plenty to think about.
Okay,
plenty to think about.
Right, be dumb.
Yeah.
All right.
No, it's not even being dumb. It's prioritizing what it is that you think about.
As if there are limits on what it is that you can think about.
For people like me, there are.
There aren't. Because you do plenty to get mad at Kevin Durant for exercising his freedom.
Because it requires little thoughts.
You think about that plenty.
Well, you're not asking them to be better fans. You're asking them to be better people. Because
That's right.
It would be counterintuitive if, encourage a system in which I'm not guaranteed the best player if I'm a bad team. No, get out of here with that.
Right.
Why would I root for my team to be worse?
But here's the thing, what I'm saying about the draft. Because the draft is the linchpin that allows the football and basketball to have a free minor league system.
Right.
It allows, really, the draft exists to fix costs because these guys can't control themselves. So it fixes costs on the player who's coming in so that he can't be a free agent and there can't be a bidding war among rich people who can't control themselves. So they keep these injustices in play of college basketball and college football. And if you don't want to get that heavy, that's fine. We can move on to other things. But I just say to you, how would you feel about free agency being eliminated and all of a sudden making that a draft as well every year? That every free agent that becomes available, it's not actually free agency. You guys don't believe in Curt Flood. You guys want more of this injustice, not less. You don't believe in free agency.
Well, Dan,
you don't believe in American capitalism is what you don't believe in. You believe in dictatorial fixing of prices with minor leagues that are free for these major billion-dollar entities that are football and basketball.
I am open for better ways of doing things in sports, better ways for everyone for doing things in
You're
sports.
Not open to
but
it.
it's hard, Dan, it's hard
You're
for
not
people to
open
hear
to
that
it.
this
You
is an
don't- no,
injustice that a guy has to go to Sacramento to play basketball for $10 million a year.
Stugotz, you're not sorry about any of this. You want to keep it so, which is how it stays so, because nobody fights these things.
I don't need to keep it so. I just said I'm fine. Like, listen, people objected to, wild card in baseball, and I objected at first too, but it was proven to be the right decision. So if there are ways to improve, even the NBA draft, even how certain players go to teams, I'm all for it.
Total free agency would improve everything except for the ability of these owners to fix prices.
Right. Like, do you think Larry Bird, if he comes straight out of college, does he go right to the Indiana Pacers? If he had the choice.
I don't know, but freedom is better than restrictions on freedom.
I don't know. Give me limited freedom and $12 million a year, and I'm fine.
Well, but that's the thing. Most of the guys making money in the NBA aren't making $12 million a year in the draft. Most of those guys drafted won't make all of that. Like, you guys keep doing this with give me $12 million a year. The grand majority of people drafted by football and basketball do not make millions of dollars. The grand majority. But you guys love dismissing this argument with that move right there. Give me millions of dollars and I do it. And I say to you, be more talented and I'll give you millions of dollars. Be more talented. Like these people are, who are good enough to be best in the world any given year coming out of college. I wasn't. You aren't.
No.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying the audience. Most of you were not best in the world at what you did and then immediately got out of college and were told, hey, your freedoms are restricted. Congratulations. Your freedoms are restricted in a way that's different from all other workplaces.
Do the players, though?
Except the military when we're fighting in a war. Right. Think about that. Where else does a draft exist other than when we need your body for war? A draft.
Seems to be a bit more important. I mean, the draft, going to the military seems to be a bit more important than what we're talking about here. Like, I kind of understand what's going on with the draft.
I think most people listening to me right now who believe in freedom and believe in America, if I tell them right now, hey, you're being drafted by the military, we need your body, you good with that? The answer would be hell no. The answer would be hell no by the grand majority of our audience, many of whom believe themselves to be patriotic.
Why does this have to be so important? Why are we limiting freedoms? Like, I don't care. I just want my team to be good. Okay, like sports is one of the places that I don't care about being a better person.
Right.
All right, and I like having that gulf there.
Okay.
I like to drink beer, cheer on my team, and wear a jersey. All right. Can I do that?
Yeah,
Can I do that without you telling me to be a better person?
Better fan,
well, no
smarter
is the
fan.
answer.
I can't get any smarter than this.
The answer is no. The answer to your question is no. You can do that, but you cannot do that without me telling you to be better.
But how do the Knicks get better? Like, go ahead, give me the guy that's going to come straight out of college and say, hey, yeah, I want to sign up and play with those guys. It doesn't work that way with the Nets. I mean, no, it doesn't work. Paul George, he signs with L.A. Lonzo Ball signs with the Lakers.
So because
everyone's on the Lakers.
So because New York is incompetent,
Yes.
we should reward them.
Yes.
For their incompetence.
Precisely.
Yes.
Now let me finish this hot dog and drink my beer.
Yeah.
Okay? Out of here.
Yum.
I'm moving sections. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. I'm going to go over there and tell you to be a better fan. Be a better
Security.
person.
Get him out
Where's
of
that
here.
number that I can text?
Yeah.
Unruly fan.
Yes.
Get out of here. You're ruining my day.
I'm telling you, that's part of what's happening. What is happening? The people who are at ESPN being dismissed as liberal are pro-player advocates, pro-freedom advocates. That's what's happening. You're uncomfortable with people like me telling you to just be better.
Man, I'm pro just not today, dude. It's early.
Okay.
I'm
I
pro
wanna-
me,
I wanna get
man.
this hot dog.
Okay, that's fine. Well, and that's why
Peanuts.
everyone will applaud you in the audience right now for the stance that you guys are taking. But those are the same people that would want the freedoms that I'm clamoring for if they were actually as valuable as these basketball players in the draft. They'd all be on my side if they had that kind of value. If their freedoms were being restricted, everybody in the audience would be like, yes, the media and sports fans should be better people. But because it doesn't impact you, you're not capable of this kind of empathy.
I don't think they're on your side, man.
Correct, I am not.
Yeah,
I know.
no one's on your side.
No, you'd be on my side if your freedoms were limited around here.
No, I think people be just fine getting paid a couple of $1 million to live in Sacramento, California. Sorry.
You won't go to Sioux Falls for a day in your honor.
Well, no one's paying me. Give me $100 million, I'm there.
Dan Lebatard,
The bifocal eyeglasses.
Stugotz,
Marcus Mariota, growing up right in front of our eyes.
This is the Dan Lebatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, hey, spam cheeks. Your comparisons are extremely dumb and absent context. Most of us regular folks don't work in an industry that requires the relative health of all the competitive members. If all the undesirable NBA cities don't have an equal shot at players when they come out of college, they will never have a shot at them, and like a third of the teams will be forced to fold. Pompously comparing the NBA to regular business is the kind of low-level insight you get from Spam Cheeks Lebatard. I mean, what kind of Sacramento chance is there now that they have a perfectly just system that rewards them for their incompetence? How's that worked out for Sacramento the entire time they've been a franchise, having that system making them more competitive?
It hasn't, but eventually they got to hit on someone, right? I guess they did on Cousins, and
They
that didn't
do,
work
though,
out
and
well.
the-
Yeah.
I think they'd have a better chance if their guy was spending. If he was trying to outspend others, he'd have a better chance than trying to out-navigate them through competence in the draft.
Think about it. They nailed it. They got Hassan Whiteside, DeMarcus Cousins, Isaiah Thomas. And
So you guys should look here on Twitter. What's the name of this guy coming at me here?
Walt Ferber.
I love Walt. Oh, Walt. My man.
All right,
Good,
go-
solid dude.
All right, go to,
Love this guy, man.
go to Lebatard Show on Twitter, okay? This guy writes, Mike Ryan would make a really good host. Dan, you're becoming a pompastic ass. You have lost touch, Dan. And now Walt Ferber lights me up by calling me a pompastic ass and saying I have lost touch. And you need to see the picture of Walt Ferber because he looks exactly as you would imagine someone named Walt Ferber looks.
He's exactly the guy. He has the exact name of a guy that I want agreeing with me and Mike Ryan. He also has the exact look I want for a guy that agrees with me and Mike Ryan. He is great. Mike, send him a shirt.
Yeah, I will. I just sent him a follow, too. Yeah, this guy's a program director.
Oh, really? You're
yeah.
Following Walt?
Yeah.
right,
No, this is networking now.
All right,
Program
let's all
director.
follow
Maybe
him.
he can give me my own show.
Let's all follow Walt Ferber, all of us.
I'm on it.
Well, who's he a program director for? Old Walt Ferber.
According to his bio, he is a program sports director at WITZ, WITS.
Okay, that's Evansville basketball. Okay, let's all follow at Walt Ferber. Let's all do that. I want that guy's sports opinions.
Radio play-by-play voice of the University of Evansville basketball. That's a D1 basketball program. I'm sure we can find highlights and find out what Walt Ferber even sounds like.
Yep.
All right. I am pompastic. So we can move on to other subjects. Paul Schaefer is going to join us in 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And John Lovitz is going to join us at 12:30.
Oh, man. I'm following Walt now, man.
Hang tight, Walt. Show's going to get better. Paul Schaefer's joining us.
Yeah, Paul Schaefer is going to join us. And I got to admit it. I have to admit it. I do love when you guys get agitated by counterintuitive thinking. Like when you get agitated, because your initial response isn't to be open-minded and hear me out. It's to disagree and want to fight.
Yep.
And it's funny how agitated you get when I'm telling you, all of you, if I told you right now, hey, you're worth $10 million, but you can't choose where it is that you make it, you'd be really mad.
But I'm still making it.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.